Hearing from Devin Bailey, the Director of Wildland Fire Management with Government of Yukon, and Haley Ritchie, the Fire Information Officer with Wildland Fire Management, Government of Yukon. We're going to be hearing a wildfire briefing now that we're midway through the fire season. We're going to be hearing from both of our speakers and then taking questions from media, starting with the media in the room and then moving to Zoom. So please do hold your questions until the end. Okay, first up, Devin Bailey.
Yeah, okay. Welcome and good day. My name is Devin Bailey. As Julia said, I'm the Director of Yukon's Wildland Fire Management. Thank you for joining us today on the traditional territory of the Kwanlin Dun and the Tanquichan Council for an update on the wildfire situation in the Yukon. Despite a relatively cool start to the summer in southern Yukon, it's been a very different story up in Dawson and Mayo regions, creating a very busy fire season in the central part of the territory. Since mid-June, wildfires across the territory have been impacting communities, highways, and power lines. Dawson and Yukoners have experienced smoke, evacuation alerts, and several travel disruptions. I am grateful for this opportunity to provide details on the events of the past month, including how operations are progressing with fires currently being actioned by Wildland Fire Management. As in previous years, Wildland Fire Management has been working closely with several partners to protect Yukoners and visitors and strive to keep everyone well informed. These partners include Yukon government departments such as Emergency Measures Organization, the Fire Marshal's Office, Highways and Public Works, Environment, and Health and Social Services. Response agencies such as the RCMP, local governments like the City of Dawson and the Village of Mayo, and First Nations including the Trondequitchin First Nation, the First Nation of Nachonaik Dun, and the White River First Nation. Through support of Yukon Emergency Measures Organization, communications have been well coordinated with public and private critical infrastructure providers to manage the impacts on communities and affected by these wildfires. We are deeply grateful for the assistance that we have received from our partners. Operations have also been supported this season by folks from New Brunswick, Newfoundland, Prince Edward Island, British Columbia, Alberta, Washington, Idaho, and Oregon. This season, 192 firefighters and support staff have arrived through the Northwest Compact and Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Center and contract hires. We also hired drone specialists for the first time this season to conduct scans on hotspots and support us with mapping these large fires. In order to protect West Dawson residents and the area, Yukon Wildland Fire Management also completed one of the largest structure protection operations in our history. Reciprocally, prior to our season beginning, 50 Yukon fire personnel were exported outside the territory to assist other agencies. This includes 30 Wildland Fire Management and 20 Yukon First Nations wildfire personnel. They went to Alberta, BC, and Saskatchewan, as well as helping out our neighbors across the border in Alaska and Oregon. Cooler temperatures combined with scattered precipitation, increased humidity, helped decrease fire activity in the central region. These conditions, along with the hard, amazing efforts of our wildland firefighting crews, contributed to significant progress on the wildfires in the Mayo and Dawson regions. Dawson area evacuation alerts were lifted on June 30th, and on July 15th, the evacuation alerts for the Mayo region were also rescinded. On Monday, July 21st, an evacuation alert was issued for Beaver Creek due to risk from a wildfire approximately 10 kilometers away from that community, and WFM mobilized a wide range of resources to Beaver Creek. The evacuation alert was later lifted on July 23rd thanks to cooler, rainier weather, but operations are still ongoing to protect that community. Our Fire Information Officer, Haley, will have more on that. We are definitely not done with our fire season yet. The fires are digging in deep in certain areas where the drought codes are high, and there's still lots of work to do out there. And we appreciate any support and help that the weather can give us. As we look ahead to the rest of the fire season, we are thinking not only about the well-being of Yukon communities, but also the safety of all of our emergency responders. Wildland firefighting is crucial to protect communities from wildfire Fire, wildfire fighters are crucial to protect our communities from wildfires each summer, and I want to thank each one of our firefighters for everything that you do to keep Yukoners safe. Together, we are building a culture of preparedness around the territory, and we want to reassure Yukoners that Wildland Fire Management is continuing to work hard on fires across the territory and is ready to respond aggressively for the remainder of the season. We will now be hearing from Fire Information Officer Haley Ritchie, who will be discussing the current wildfire situation and the outlook for wildfires. Haley will also speak about the steps you can take to prepare your family and property for wildfires and other emergencies. Wildland Fire Management is taking action to reduce the risk of wildfires in our communities. I encourage each and every one of you to consider what you can do as individuals. It's never too late to take action to prepare your family and your property for wildfires or other emergencies. Thank you very much.
Great. Okay, thanks, Devin. So my name is Haley Ritchie. I'm a Fire Information Officer for the Government of Yukon. Thanks for being here, everyone. As a recap on the past 6 weeks, beginning on June 16th, the Yukon experienced hot and dry temperatures and thousands of new lightning strikes per day. At the peak of this busy period, 19 new fires started in a single day. By July 1st, the Yukon had recorded 102 fires. For comparison, the territory had 106 fires by this date last year in 2024 and 48 by this date in 2023. What made these fires notable was not only the number of new starts, but also the close proximity to communities, values, and infrastructure, as well as the extreme fire behavior that was observed. So during this time, the North Klondike Highway, the Robert Campbell Highway, and the Ashak Road were temporarily closed. Due to the size and intensity of fires, evacuation alerts were issued for several areas, including West Dawson, Henderson Corner, parts of the Silver Trail, and Ethel Lake. When these fires grew too fast and became too large for immediate suppression, they were responded to with indirect attack. The positive side of this approach is that a lot of the work that has been done, including building dozer guard lines, fuel treatments to reduce forest density, and the development of ignition plans, will provide long-term protection for communities, and in some cases is aligned with work suggested in community wildfire protection plans. Crews also did have a lot of success on multiple initial attack targets by tracking lightning strikes and responding quickly. A number of potential fires caught early, such as Dawson 5, the Rock Creek 2 fire, and Mayo 32, the Big Loop fire, prevented additional large-scale fires and other evacuation alerts. So far, there have been 130 wildfires in the territory and around 122,000 hectares burned. While it is too early to provide specifics of wildfire response costs this year, we are forecasting the 2025 fire season to be higher than the average, with costs higher than 2024. As Devin mentioned, we're now in a more favorable position in most of the territory. The Mount Dave fire, that's the one near Beaver Creek, Beaver Creek 4, has shown reduced fire activity over the last few days. Right now, 5 crews and 1 helicopter are working on patrolling and extinguishing hot spots along the fire's perimeter. Internal smoke may still be visible on that fire. And going forward, big picture, most of the territory has received enough rain to knock the fire danger ratings down to low to moderate. But fire season is not over yet. Drying conditions have already started to bring these levels up in central Yukon and southwestern Yukon. There are currently 92 active wildfires in the territory. So many of these fires are located in the Dawson and Mayo regions, but fires are also still present in Haines Junction, Ross River, Carmacks, and the Southern Lakes regions. I want to talk a little bit about prevention work. So we do a lot of prevention work on the landscape level, including prescribed burns and fire smart work. Over the next few weeks, late season prescribed burning may take place around Whitehorse. Yukoners also have an important role to play in protecting their homes from wildfires by fire smarting their properties. A message we send out all fire season is to always be careful with fire. So most of the fires we're talking about right now are lightning caused. That's the case for most of the fires across the Yukon. But we want to avoid human caused fires. So even if there are no fire restrictions in place, never build a fire bigger than you need. Don't light your fires in hot, dry, windy conditions. And when you're done with your campfire, put it out completely. Soak it, stir it, and repeat until it's cold to the touch. Simple tasks will reduce the chance that an ember from a nearby fire will burn your home. Fire smart homes help our firefighters because they take less time to protect if ever a neighborhood were threatened by a wildfire. So that's why we share fire smart guidance in our homeowner's manual, and in your local fire center or fire hall, and in person at community events. You can also download a homeowner's manual on yukon.ca. All Yukon homes received a copy of that manual this spring. You should also make a plan for what your family would do if an emergency like a wildfire threatened your home and you needed to evacuate. You can do that with your family. You can also do that with your friends. I encourage kind of everybody to be talking about this during wildfire season, but also outside of the season as well. If you're looking for information on wildfires, the public can always use the Wildfire Hub. This will have the latest information about the current fire situation, where smoke is coming from, fires near you, the current fire danger ratings, and more. A lot of information there. We also have a lower bandwidth web page option for those with slower internet connections across the territory. Both of those pages are on yukon.ca, of course. And Yukoners looking for information can also follow us on Facebook, Yukon Protective Services, and they can also always talk to a fire information officer by calling our public phone line. So far, in conclusion, fire season in 2025 has certainly been a busy one. We're now more than halfway through our regular season, and we remain ready to respond to new fires. We really do rely on the public to also help us spot and identify wildfires and catch them early. So if you are out and you do see what you think is a fire, please call us. Our fire line is 1-888-798-3473. And that has really helped us a number of times during this fire season. And that's the summary of the fire season from me. Happy to take questions. I'll pass it back to Julia.
Thank you so much to both Haley and Devin for your words today. We're now going to move to media questions. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the folks in the room, and then we will move to Zoom. Each outlet will have one question and one follow-up question each. And then if we have extra time at the end, then we'll move to further rounds of questions. We're going to start in the room with, one sec, with CKRW, then Yukon News, and CBC. So first up, CKRW, please.
Thank you. I'm curious how you'd characterize how intense this wildfire season's been and how it's kind of shifted and changed over the past couple of months.
Thanks for that, Macklin. It's a really good question. And the important thing to know is you can really measure a fire season with all kinds of metrics, right? We can tell you about how many hectares were burned, how many resources we imported, how many fires we had. So I provided kind of a brief comparison there, number of fires as for previous years. But really we had a number of intense weeks. So maybe a good metric is some of our crew members did back-to-back shifts. So that means they worked for 14 days on the fire line, took a mandatory rest period, and then we're back for another 14. So that's an intense amount of work for our crews. So it's been a busy fire season. We can also, of course, measure it by impact on people. So we had a number of communities that were under evacuation alert, which is incredibly stressful. A lot of folks in Dawson were waking up in the morning to a really smoky sky and watching those fires, sometimes from their backyard. So it's hard to compare every different fire season. A firefighter's measure of how intense a season will be different from mine, will be different from one of those people in Dawson who is watching it from home. Certainly it's been a busy season. It's impacted a lot of people, and Devin touched on a lot of different resources that were brought to the territory to help deal with these.
One of the things that we've been noticing over the past several years is just really intense fire behavior. So a lot of times a fire will get reported and it will be 1 hectare. By the time we get crews there, which can sometimes be within 25, 30 minutes to have aircraft on site, these fires can be up and running and beyond resources. So one of the ways our crews do an amazing job with initial attack, and we do have a lot of success there. But this year's the fires, the amount of fire or lightning that occurred within a short period of time into a very tinder dry forest, combined with the wind, made a lot of these fires just beyond resources very quickly. So a lot of, as Haley says, there's a lot of different metrics to be used.
Thanks. Macklin, second question.
Yeah, thank you. So obviously this is the middle of the fire season. Are there any particular red flags you're looking at going forward?
Good question. We often say that really the best fire forecasting we can do is really 3 days out. So everyone who's ever opened a weather app on their phone will know things can be a little bit unpredictable. So really those 3 days is the best kind of metric we have to judge fire season. We still have an entire month of summer left in August, so we're still expecting that there may be new fires. There may be a lot more work to do on these existing fires. That's really what we look at when we're predicting how the fire season will go. So yeah, still a number of weeks in our core fire season, and we'll kind of see what it brings.
That's a good question. For me, the red flags are ensuring that our crews are well rested and that we're getting our gear back in order to prepare either for the rest of this season and even for next season. And if it does happen to rain here, there's a lot of work to be done for fuel mitigation. If we have the window, as Haley was saying, we'll look at prescribed fire to increase the fire resilience around communities. But for me, the red flags are just making sure that we're prepared and making sure that our firefighters are well rested and doing well.
Thank you. Okay, next up, the Yukon News.
So you talked about the local resources and how they've been affected by the fires this season, and you talked about exports coming in. Were there more or less outside resources brought in this year? And was there a strain on local resources or a lack of local resources, are more resources needed in the Yukon?
There's a national shortage of wildland firefighters. So we did bring in a significant number of imported crews this season. And we generally do that through either the Northwest Compact or the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Center. And we do have the support of Yukon First Nations Wildfire Unit crews as well. And nationally, there is a shortage of wildland firefighters. And each agency shares resources when possible, but each agency also has to ensure that they have the resources available within their own jurisdiction to respond. It's a hard thing to know how many fires there's going to be, and so could we use more firefighters in the Yukon? Absolutely. Across the country, we could use more wildland firefighters.
And just to clarify, sorry if I missed it earlier, but were there more outside resources brought in this year? You mentioned 192 support staff. That's how many were brought in from places like New Brunswick, BC, from some states. Was that more than previous years?
It's more than previous years. Yes, it is more than previous years.
Yeah, I can get you exact numbers too if you want, Dana. We can try and tally that up and make a comparison. It's, as you know from being here for a number of years, it is pretty normal that we bring in outside resources, but I can try and get you some more specific numbers.
And you talked about the budget and how you maybe don't have a full picture of the budget yet. But does Wildland Fire Management right now have the money it needs? You talked about being ready for the rest of the season. Have you got the money that you need for the rest of the season?
Yeah, so we do have the money. Yukon government will always ensure that Wildland Fire Management has the funding it needs to ensure that Yukoners are safe. Like
contingency fund? Dipping into the contingency fund, or do you know?
Yeah, I mean, it could mean dipping into whatever funds are needed in order to ensure that Yukoners are safe.
Yeah, I don't know if you have any specific numbers that you can share on, like, maybe how expensive the 2024 season was. You said you projected that this year would be more.
Sure.
It's probably not in the notes, Callie.
Yeah, well, we've spent in previous seasons, 2024 was 23 million, roughly. We've spent in the past between 15 and 40 million. What we have to remember too is that the price of everything is going up. So it's not that we're spending more necessarily, but the cost of fuel is going up, the cost of aircrafts are going up, the cost of vehicles is going up. Fire retardant, which we used over 1 million liters of, is almost doubled in price in the past several years. Food for catering, for feeding all these crews, obviously the cost of food has gone up. So as everything gets more expensive, we're going to see more expensive responses during fire season as well.
I wanted to ask about the drones. How did using the drones go? What did you learn from that? Is that something you think there'll be more of in the future?
The drones were amazing. I'm going to say that our folks on the ground there greatly benefited from them, and we'll be taking a closer look at how we can better integrate technology into our program. Operating a drone is far less expensive than a rotor wing. It's also very handy for our crews to know exactly where the hot spots are. So instead of patrolling, kilometers, tens of kilometers of line, we can now have, with pinpoint accuracy, we can know where the hot spots are and know where to focus our resources. So I can't say enough good things about that. And we're definitely going to be taking a closer look at how we can better integrate that into our program.
I'm not sure if this question is within the territory. I think it's outside. Are Yukon firefighters deployed anywhere right now outside the territory?
No, not currently. We've been too busy. They need a break. We have a lot of work to do in the territory, and our Yukon duty officer constantly reassesses that and is in constant communication through CIFC and the Northwest Compact with partner agencies. We might be in a position where we can release some aircraft to go support other agencies. We're always looking at how we can support each other. Nationally, it's a pretty small community, and we keep in very close contact.
Are we in a
Okay,
bit?
I'm just gonna,
Oh, sorry.
that's okay. I'm just gonna pause the in-room questions now just to check in with the Zoom. And then if there aren't any questions on the Zoom, we do have time for another round of in-room questions. Okay, it doesn't look as if we've got any questions from the outlets on Zoom. So I'll just go back around to the same outlet order. Nothing from CKRW? Okay, anything from the news? You may not have to get up, Kelly.
Yeah, you talked about how, it's the middle of the fire season. My editor wanted me to ask, though, it's too soon to say the Yukon is out of the woods yet, right?
We are not out of the woods yet. Yeah, I can safely say that.
Yeah, I guess it was sort of the same thing. We're like, are we in a lull right now, or is that just our impression in Whitehorse where it's been wet and cold?
So the weather, as we all know, the weather across the Yukon, you just need to drive 5 minutes if you want to see something different. A lot of the showers, the rain has helped for sure, but if we run into 3 hot, dry days, then we're back into it. And generally, the lightning will start to taper off this time of year, but there is still lightning around. And Haley was at the weather briefing this morning, so she might be able to speak more to that.
Absolutely, I can talk to that. So I think you're correct, Callie. We are in a bit of a lull now compared to the past 6 weeks. But that doesn't mean we're out of the woods. It doesn't mean we're done with fire season. It doesn't mean we're done with some of these major fires that we've been working on. So we still have 4 fires out there that we're considering fires of note. 2 of them are being held, which we have 4 different kind of levels of fire control. There's out of control, being held, under control and extinguished. So being held means that under the current conditions, we're not expecting that fire to grow, but it doesn't mean we've forgotten about that fire. It means we're actively working on it. It means if conditions did change, if we had those 3 days of intense drying, we would still be worried about those fires. So we certainly have potential for more lightning-caused fires. There's always potential for human-caused fires. That's why we ask people to keep being careful, even when we've had some rain. And there's still a lot of fires that are on the landscape, might still have some heat, and we're still paying attention to those.
Thank you. I understand that you're working on fire breaks south of Whitehorse. Is there work happening or any plans for work in other parts northeast, west of, of the city?
At this time, we'll get you that information, but at this time, that is our focus, and that, you know, there's a lot of research was done onto where to place that fuel break, and so that's the most likely area with the prevailing winds where we'll need it. And so after we complete that project, which we've made very good progress on, but we still have a lot of work to do there, then we'll start looking at other areas as well.
Kind of building on that, are there plans for fire breaks around like Dawson or Mayo, any of these areas that have gotten hit more?
Well, do you want me to speak to CWPPs? Sure, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so yes, each community, Wildland Fire Management is supporting each community through our prevention and mitigation unit to develop community wildfire protection plans, otherwise known as CWPPs. And when we do have the opportunity, if there's a fire threatening that community, it now means we have a detailed plan of what work we will want to do. And we use that opportunity to try and mimic the community wildfire protection plan. Currently plans have been completed and signed for Faro, Mayo, and Dawson, and we're developing plans for Watson Lake, Beaver Creek, Burwash Landing, and Destruction Bay. And we've worked with the City of Whitehorse. It's not called a Community Wildfire Protection Plan, but it is a plan, and it incorporates the larger fuel break. So we want to complete this work before wildfires encroach on a community. But if a fire is encroaching, we at least have a detailed plan of that's been worked on with both local government and First Nations governments as a template to work from. So.
Okay, great. If that's all of our questions. Great, thank you. And just a reminder that Haley and Manon, the friendly fire information team, are always available at yukonfireinfo@yukon.ca or the public phone number, which I think you all have already, to answer questions during wildfire season. Thank you so much to all of the media here today. You're, as you know, a vital partner in sharing information during emergency situations and throughout wildfire season, and we really appreciate you taking the time to come here today. If you have any other questions after this, or if you'd like access to any of the photos or maps that we've been showing today, please do just get in touch with the fire information team and they can share those resources. And as I said, this will be going up on YouTube later this week, hopefully tomorrow. So thank you very much for attending and have a great day.